Okay. Yeah. Jim just asked for our theme music. I used to have a bunch of music playing before this and have it come in. Yeah. We do that or could do that, but I've been skipping it and now we're just going straight on. So welcome to Baarns Heller Barnes, and whatever we're calling it this week, it's always Heller Barnes. Anyway, ask us anything, and
Well,
we have a
age before beauty.
yes, well, of course. The
That's
problem
true.
is I fit both. I'm older than him and uglier than him, but so I
I
get
don't
the
think you,
award
I
on
don't think
both
you're
ends.
either one of those things, John.
Now I know you're not older, huh?
Actually, anyway, we'll talk about that later. And
Never
anyway,
talk about
so
that. Never.
yeah, so welcome, glad you're here. And before we get started, I get to do a little commercial here and promote Mr. Heller because we did something recently where we did a cool webinar. So if you go on vojumpstart.com, you can get access to the Heller secrets for doing audiobooks. This is a super cool thing. It's available for replay now. And just here's a bonus. We are putting together later today or maybe tomorrow morning. There's going to be a 1 or a 2 day flash sale. And we're going to bundle all three of these together at a special price where you can get audiobook secrets. And Maria's great at winning auditions. She's worked with all sorts of actors here in LA. She's brilliant at that. My son's brilliant at doing conversational reads at a level that's pretty intense. So we're putting these together into a super bundle here. There's going to be a flash sale, which means if you miss it, you miss it. So get a hold of me if you want that. There's a little commercial thing there. But Heller was brilliant in our webinar, and you get to see him coach and see him coach 5 people. And it's really a treat when you see how he can help somebody in a short period of time. And then, of course, you have access to him. You can hire him to do a lot more. He's amazing. So we'll talk about that a little later in the show. And today, Johnny, can you give us a feel for how did you meet Jim? Because you're the guy that knows everybody. I hang on your coattails there to meet everybody. How did you two meet? How long have you known each other?
Let me think. Jim will probably remember better than I, because I'm not good at dates. I think we met at when I was a member of the APA. I'm not a member of the APA, so when I believe that's how I met Jim at one of the either APAC or one of the cocktail functions. Isn't that right?
You and Scott Brick came to Los Angeles to do I think your first ever
The first business. Oh, in that theater area.
business thing. Yeah, in that black room, black
Yes,
box theater in
that was
Santa
cool.
Monica. And you had just come back from your honeymoon, and you were posting all of the pictures of the French butts on, and I made some.
Great bunts of Paris. Yeah.
I was brand new, less than maybe half a dozen books. Sean Pratt had suggested I come to this thing to meet some people, and I just kind of offhand during lunch said to you, "Hey, I appreciated the great butts of France," and you just kind of took me under your wing and said, "Hey, come and have lunch with us." And I walked over and sat down on a bench with you, and I think Simon Vance was there.
And Ray Porter, I think, was with us.
I think Porter was there. There were a couple of, maybe Jeff Kafer. I don't know. It was like, here I am. And I, called my wife during the lunch break. You can't believe who I had lunch with. And of course, she didn't give a damn because she didn't know anybody.
If she had
never been,
she wouldn't have cared.
So that was just, that was so. And then there was the APA thing, one of those real crowded APA functions, that next night.
So this
where
was
we
3
all got
weeks
together.
ago?
No, no, that was, gosh, what was it, 2017?
Yeah, 2016 or 7. Well, no,
Yeah.
I was on honeymoon in 2017. So it was either that year probably, or 2018.
Yeah, it would have been November, because I think you had just gotten back. Just very recently. So
it was a September trip. So it's probably, when was that there? October, November? I can't
October.
remember.
I think it was the very first week in November, I think.
You may be right. I can't remember.
I
I need someone to keep track of what the hell. I have to have a calendar on my phone. I don't know what I'm
So
doing.
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's been love ever since.
Yeah, you bet. Oh yeah. Just a love affair.
You
guys, I made a note to myself. The one thing that I wanted to do today before we got going was to give both of you guys props for the influence you've had on me and the whole industry. Johnny for just kind of taking me under his wing and kind of being a friend, and a confidant in when I've had some, interesting questions to ask. And Don, your help early on, you jumped me from Audacity to Studio One, and I think we got together for like 4 hours over 4 consecutive weeks, and you really walked me through the Studio One. And I don't think I'd be where I am now if I didn't have that, kind of technical basis. Because I can put batteries in a flashlight as long as there's a little picture that shows, the little tit on the one end, and it goes in this way. But no, both of you guys, have hats off to you, for all
Well,
the help you
here's the
give
cool
people.
thing.
And yet your hat remains on.
Yeah.
Well, if I took it off, the shine would absolutely blind people.
But
So
here's the thing, you were smart enough to go find Johnny and friends and hang with them and be around people that had experience, and you kind of very quickly figure out in every business, well, I can learn something from people that have some experience and
yeah,
shortcut my learning and get some
yeah,
details in place way quicker. You would have stumbled over all this stuff on your own. It might have been a year or 3 or 10
yeah,
months or whatever. But you were smart, and that's kind of you stand on the shoulders. And Johnny and I did that too. Johnny studied comedy. I mean, it's always fun to hear who it was influenced by in his young acting days, and
yeah,
the courses, and the when he was studying comedians and who he liked and still likes. And he'll quote Monty Python now, and he will quote, and you kind of go, oh yeah, see, all the great comedians all seem to go, and there's some influence because there's a history there, and you can learn from these people, and you stand on their shoulders. And hats off to you
yeah,
for doing that. And Johnny's done it, and I've done it, and you're doing it, and we just see
yeah,
this over and over again.
yeah,
That's a lesson that Don, much more than I, but brings up regularly on our podcast here. Ask Us Anything. The idea that it's not. There's a certain skill, a certain talent, a certain ability that exists within people, but then to take that skill, that talent, and to nurture it, and to train it, and to basically teach it, to make it a usable a thing, to become an actor.
Yeah.
To have acting skill isn't to act. To have the skill to well engineer or produce something isn't. You need to know how to put it all together. And Don is so dead on when he asks the talent to join us. And thank you for joining us, Jim. That's so gracious of you to do so. And just the very idea that we're all here because we love a thing and love a thing well enough that we want to continue to learn to do it better.
Yeah.
And I say in our industry, far more than in Don's end of the business, we are threatened by the AI all the time, by computer voices and voiceover, and people trying to save a dime, trying to do things differently. If you can't act well, then you are replaceable. I think if something like Don's end of the business, Don can find a way to make AI a part of his procedure. You can't ruin the
sure.
human element, but it's easier for him to put
Yeah.
it in. For you and I, it's
Yeah,
a dead set enemy.
Well,
You
yeah.
being here, it's great.
I have an opportunity this Saturday. I'm a panelist, an audiobook panelist for the 40th annual Central Coast Writers Conference. It's one of the longest running writers conferences, I think, in the country, especially in California. And so I'm on. Margie Valine, who lives near me, is a fairly new narrator. They have me. They're calling me a seasoned narrator rather than an old narrator. Thank you very much. And we're going to answer questions. And then we're right before lunch. Right after lunch, some people from the Amazon, what is it, Amazon Kindle group or whatever, the AI people are coming to tell authors how they can have a robot read their book. And I've got a line because I know it's going to come up in our session. Well, what about using AI? If you're an author and you have put so many years of blood, sweat, and tears into your book, and you've spent money and time on getting the right cover and getting pageant right and getting copy editing, and you've done everything right, why would you go with the cheapest and most inhuman last step? And the only reason somebody's going to use AI to do a book is to save money. There is no other reason. It's not better.
Yeah.
There's no way it's better.
Right.
And maybe it's faster.
Yeah, but okay, faster means, first off, people do everybody wants their book done sooner. So,
Sure.
but it's gonna take Johnny 3 weeks or something to do a book, or somewhere 2 to 5, depending on the length. But a year from now, nobody will care if it came out 2 weeks earlier or 2 weeks later. If it's great, they will care if it came out 2 weeks earlier and it's crap. That doesn't buy anybody anything, a year from now. And really, the lifespan of this stuff is multiple years when it's done well. So
I could do a book really fast.
Yeah.
No one would want to listen to it. Well, I mean, and I'd be breaking the rule. Move your head aside just a little bit, Heller. I'd be breaking the rule. I mean, there's the rule, slow the fuck down. That's the great lesson. You get paid by the hour, slow down. So I definitely could do a book faster. So thanks to Johnny and Carol Monda and a few other people that told me to slow down. Well, but in my background, I was a radio news announcer. And so we had to talk fast to get the news in the 3.5 minutes that they gave us at the top of the hour.
I want to say one thing. I wrote a recent Facebook post in one of Don's groups, one of the ACX narrator groups, because James Romack, who will be on our show in a couple of weeks, I think.
Oh, good.
Often shares this thing that Zura Johnson embroidered for me, which is so sweet of her. She had a break in her motorcycle riding day, and she embroidered this and sent it to me. It's very sweet of her. It's not just slowing down for the sake of making more money and speaking slowly. It's whatever the author requires to make the scene come to life and be real for the listener. And I think in general, the lesson is we all speak too quickly. The feeling is that we all, you rarely get a chance not only to speak, but to be listened to when you do. So when you have the opportunity to speak, people tend to rush their thoughts for fear they're never going to get another shot at it. That's why if you ever listen to stand-up comics who are kind of newer or just or coked up, if they go too fast on their bits, laughs will stop because the audience doesn't want to laugh at the punchline for fear of missing the setup to the next joke.
Well, who was great at that. I mean, I came up through radio in the 60s and 70s. There was a guy named Paul Harvey. You guys both remember Paul Harvey. What an incredible storyteller. And his whole thing was that pregnant pause.
Yeah.
He was so good at that. Yeah. And I was doing a book the one I just finished is nonfiction about Judge Roy Bean and his 3 brothers. And
I'd love to do that.
Excellent book. Learned a whole lot about the history of the Southwestern United States. But there were so many, and the author had a great voice. There were so many times, even in the middle of a sentence, where the subtext would change, where the emotion would change. He was being sarcastic, and then he would drop in some pathos. And it's in theater they talk about the break. As you're going, computers can't do that, and that's another reason of slowing down. Somebody, you guys are going to have to forgive me. I'm very nonlinear. And somebody posted here. Tell the story about how you got the name "The Voice of Stone Skipping" on ESPN.
Yeah, it's Barbara Hensley. Thanks, Barb. Yeah. Tell that story, James.
Got an email a couple of years ago from a producer, an independent producer that did shows for ESPN, and said, "Hey, would you like to do play-by-play on an event for the ESPN Ocho?" So, yeah, that sounds fun. I'm thinking big dollars, ESPN. And by the way, your co-host is going to be Johnny Heller. It's like, whoa, no shit. This is going to be great. So they went out and filmed this thing. This what the heck was it? International stone skipping contest.
It was because they're all equally dumb. I don't remember the titles of any of them.
And they shot the footage, cut it all up, sent it to Johnny and I, and so we watched it. It was a half-hour program. We watched it without any voiceover, and it just kind of came up that I was the straight guy, and I would lay down the joke, and Johnny would hit it home, and the producer was the one that said, we want you to introduce yourself as the voice of stone skipping on ESPN. So I'm and I used to be able to throw a stone about 7 skips. The winner on the one we did skipped 44 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing,
44
actually.
times.
Yeah.
And his record was 88 times. So yeah, Johnny and I have done a couple of those. Johnny's done more than I have, but I've done a couple of them. And I will really be excited when I finally get paid for them. But that is a completely other story. So.
Yeah. No money changed hands in the making of these programs, but it was fun. I think I did the I keep forgetting the hairstyle.
You did the mullet growing contest, and the belt sander drag races.
Yeah.
So it's more than we did snowmobile drag on grass. These are 1,000cc snowmobiles powered with like naphtha or some nitrogen or something.
Yeah.
And they go 155 miles an hour on grass. So I actually have a clip of that on my website that people can go and watch. Yeah, people can go and watch that. Yeah. So it's fun.
I don't have a clip of any of it on my website.
Yeah.
I'll just when ESPN 2 or 12 or 18 puts it on, you can have a look.
See, I don't give a damn about my image. You care about yours, so I put that on my website.
So you did radio. Did you also do some sort of theater or acting type things?
Go back to my first stage appearance. I was 4 years old. The First Presbyterian Church in San Francisco, huge place, big cathedral. I don't remember much about it except that I do remember kind of being sad when it was over, because we only get to do this like 2 nights or something like that. It was the Christmas pageant thing. It just bit me then. And I did shows in my garage when I was a little kid, magic shows, that type of thing. I acted in high school. But our family, the way we looked at that was my dad was a musician, but he had a job. And then the music and the entertainment was stuff you did in your spare time. It was your hobby. And so I never really thought about going to theater school or anything like that. But I was working as a security guard at an oil refinery in Long Beach, California, and I was listening to a radio station that said, "Hey, if you've ever wanted to be a DJ, we're doing these classes." And I went and I auditioned, and I this was 1973, and I got accepted to the class, and I was actually on the radio in Los Angeles from 2 until 4 in the morning. And then did the radio thing, moved all around the country for 20 years doing mostly as a DJ, but then whenever they'd need somebody to do the news, they said, "Well, you have this big booming voice, do the news." Met Ted Kennedy, met happy birthday Jimmy Carter. His birthday today. It was briefly, but yeah, it's
his birthday is brief. It's a whole day.
No, his birthday is today. Yeah, but I met him briefly. That's where I learned to talk into a microphone, which was a huge detriment when I finally got to do books.
Well, isn't it the same? It's just talking.
No. Oh God, no.
There's the Don we know and love.
Lay that one down and hit it. That's like
okay. So
holy cow!
Here's a plate. Take this from me.
Oh my God, that was an intentional home run, not just an intentional walk. That was all the way around. Jeez.
Well, so when did you start thinking of narration?
Painful part of the story. I was working. Y'all heard of Fred Pryor? It's that company that does the 1-day seminars, how to be better organized. how to be a better manager, blah, 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 blah. So I went to work for these guys, and they were my agent. They placed me in 407 different cities in 3 years. I taught 1 and 2 day classes on management for them, and which says a lot about my acting ability because I'm a really piss poor manager. And but I was able to take the material and become one of their best trainers. They would drop us in a town, and then we would teach for 8 hours, and then I would drive 3 or 4 hours to the next city, and the next city, and the next city. So over 3 years, 407 of those cities. I was driving through Oklahoma or Nebraska or Kansas or Texas or one of those middle of the road or middle of the country states late at night, nothing on the radio. I'll try this audiobook thing. So I started listening, downloaded Audible, started listening, and little light bulb goes off. Hey, you could do this. You just talk into a microphone. Well, I had worked for a time in the publishing industry on the retail side as a booksellers. And so I knew a lot of people in publishing. So I sent out an email that night from my hotel room. Hey, I'm thinking about doing audiobooks. What should I do? 30 some odd people. Almost every one of them answered back, hey, you'd be great. We don't know anybody. One guy answered back and said, I know this guy, Corey Werner, who was starting this company, Christian Audio.
Yeah.
They're doing audiobooks. I'll put you in touch with him. We had a couple of phone calls. He had some B-level books that he wanted to get done. So I'll give you a try. So I recorded him. I set up a little studio here with a USB mic and the whole let's do it cheap type thing. You too can record books in your home. And they're awful. I wish I'd used a pseudonym. I didn't think so at the time. I thought I was going to get it
available. You could use that name.
Well, Sean got involved about 3 books in because I realized I needed some help, and I hired Sean, and so he was very instrumental in those early books. But that's sort of how I got started was that. But I really got started. Here's the truth: 7 years earlier, because I wrote a book about management, and Oasis picked up the audio rights from Tyndale House, and they wanted the author to read his own book.
Oh yeah.
So that was 2010. So I tell people I did my first book in 2010.
Lisa Smith out there.
I know they didn't bring me to Chicago. They found a studio here, and so I sat down and I read it, and then they paid me $50 a finished hour, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. I told my wife I can't believe I'm getting paid $50 to read my own stuff. Yeah, it was easy money. Oh my gosh, I wish it was still that easy. But anyway, that's that story.
Bucks. In the earlier days before the influx of narrators that have now, I don't want to name names, but there's big publishers that used to just use local people in the area, just get them in and bring them 25, 30, 40, $50 an hour. It was really, people don't give the respect to the SAG-AFTRA negotiators who really made this business one in which actors can make a living. I know everybody goes, oh my God, this group is so good and that group is so good. It's the union that really made it a place that actors can work and live and flourish.
Yeah, I've been a big union guy my whole life since my dad was a shop steward. But the minute I could join SAG, the moment that I had the credit, I joined, and now I'm proud and happy to say that I'm on the National Steering Committee for Audiobooks, and we're regularly looking at contracts. And they do, the Jane and Richard and Andrea are incredibly helpful and protective and have our best interests at heart all the time. I get discouraged at people that post, not just audiobook narrators, but just actors that are members of the union that get post, and it's almost like they believe the union should be their agent. the union should be getting me more work. It's like, no, you should get your own freaking work. Go out and, and do the work, do the job. The union will protect you once you get the work, but the union's not there to get you the work.
There's an industry-wide misunderstanding of what the union actually does, how it exists, and how important it is. And there's only so much education you can do. Too many people don't. Well, I'm going to sound like an old bastard about this, but there's too many people just jumped into this game without knowing any of the rules, without having any of the background. If you, as I said earlier, having talent is great, but nurturing that talent into a place that you are almost irreplaceable as a narrator, as an actor. It's just having a nice voice, which you do. It's as I've always said, having a nice voice is so much nicer than not having one. Now what? It's just simply not enough.
It got me in the door. I mean, it got me those early books from Corey.
Let me just jump. Jim does. You can tell by the sound, does baseball stuff. Before that, we have another in the second half hour. We got to talk about your baseball thing. But I wanted to answer Steve Corona, who says, Jim, will you be at the New England Narrator Retreat? And the answer is no. I draw the line, Steve, on who I'll let join us in New England, and Jim Seybert just isn't up to snuff.
Steve, I have tried over and over again. Last year I sent Johnny money so that I could go to Johnny and Paul Rubin's training in New York, and they wouldn't let me. Johnny said, I'll take your money and we'll give it to somebody else.
No, we didn't give it to anybody else. No, we went out to dinner. Yeah.
No, I won't be there. There's a conflict for me in October. So
I will say Mr. Seybert has been very pushy at trying to get Joanna and I to take the retreat or something like a retreat out to wine country in California, which we are still considering. Jim's been pushing us. Scott Brick and I were talking about doing it, but Scott
had one
busy, then he got married, and then he got busy with that. So I don't know what's going on, but maybe we can go out there to the wine country, and you can drink wine, and I'll try and teach things.
We had one scheduled. We had a hotel. We had one scheduled. People signed up for it, and then the pandemic or
COVID
something.
Some COVID thing. I don't know if you've ever heard about this COVID thing, but it messed things up.
So, so you've done a lot of things, obviously. So you do some baseball related things. Can you tell us about that?
I did baseball play-by-play when I was in radio, when I was a young man. And now I'm in my 9th year as the field announcer for a team in the California Collegiate League. It's a summer wooden bat baseball league, and we draw D1 players from all over the country here to San Luis Obispo. We play Santa Barbara Foresters, Walnut Creek Mudcats, or Sonoma Mudcats, Walnut Creek Crawdads. We draw 1,100 to 1,500 people a night. And I do 34 games. I tell people it's like scripted improv. I'm going to do the same thing, batting now, number 27, that type of thing. But then in between that, there's all sorts of improv. It's fun for about the first 3 or 4 weeks. Then it's like, oh my God, here we go again. And then when it's over, you miss it. It's a lot like doing a big long book. It's the prep is a little bit of a drag, and then you get into the acting and the performing, and it's awesome. And about halfway through it, you hate it. You think, can't this guy or this writer, get this thing to the end? And then when it's over, it's like, gosh, I missed that. So it's the same thing with the baseball. It's the only sport I can understand. Everything else, other than maybe curling, everything else moves way too fast for me. I don't even know where the damn ball is half the time.
You should look at pole vaulting. That's rather simple.
Yeah,
you could probably pull that off, man.
Hell, I've done stone skipping.
You guys watch the Olympics when that guy?
Oh my!
Got disqualified for knocking the bar down with his Johnson.
with his rod. That was. There are times when I wish I was still in broadcasting, and that,
That's
Yeah.
better than the gold medal, man. That guy's set for life. That was
He
so
could,
fun.
he could go into porn. Yeah.
Um, oh, so we should take some questions. Let's see here. When the writers' conference in California that Jim spoke about, what was that? Andy, I want to
It's
know.
in San Luis Obispo, or as Johnny likes to say, San Luis Obispo, and it's at Cuesta College. It is this coming Saturday, and oh golly, I don't know the URL, but if you just put Cuesta or Central Coast Writers Conference, Central Coast Writers Conference, and then maybe put Cuesta, Cuesta, it'll pop up.
Now, here's a question.
Yeah.
Is this good for, I think I know the answer. Is this good for narrators to attend? Why in the world would someone who's a narrator go to a writers' conference?
Yeah. I think if you like to do independent books, I don't have a hell of a lot of patience for independent authors. I've done some, and I'm not against it. It's just it takes a lot more work than just working with a publisher. So many more questions to answer and all that. But there's a lot of people. I mean, probably half or more than half the people listening love working with independent authors. It's a great place to go because you can meet them and hand out your business card and say, hey, if you're doing, I do this kind of books. I'm a local, celebrity. And so they've invited me. This is my second year with them, but they
Do they think you're Colonel Sanders?
Yeah, finger looking good there, young man. You betcha. Yeah.
Oh, Jim Seybert. No, I was looking for Colonel Sanders. Sorry, man. Where's he?
Yeah. He's out plucking chickens. Yeah. That's one turkey.
If you guys take Jim's advice and go to these, there's all kinds of author gatherings, writer, and they're based in genre, like the mystery writers, Oklahoma or whatever, or the romance writers of Indiana, whatever. So they have these things. If you go to them, you will be something of a celebrity there as an audiobook narrator. But I would suggest that you do some homework, whatever that means to you, some research, because you're going to get asked a lot of questions. And if you don't have answers, you're not going to make the impression you need. The authors want to know how to get their book, just like a filmmaker or an artist or anybody or a photographer wants to get their work seen. They want their work out. So you need to know, here's the steps we take. Here's the cost. Here's the steps. Don't forget the steps. If you're not, and here's one thing that happens to independent, we work with independent people. Somebody has to do the editing and mastering and proofing. If you want to wear both those hats, just remember that really cuts into your time and your income. My advice always, always, always is farm that out to people who do that.
Yeah, the independent books, the books I do.
So anyway, so have those answers available.
Right. Have a little, even a little brochure, something to hand out, or at least make sure you have a page on your website that you can direct people to. Somebody asked in the chat, which central coast? It's the central coast of California. We are halfway between LA and Los Angeles. Hearst Castle, San Luis Obispo, Pismo Beach, which
it's at a college, right?
Yeah. Cuesta College is a community college here.
So I threw the URL in the chat there.
Oh, there it is.
Because I found it while you were talking, so that anyone who wants to, there it is. That's the writers' conference, and that's the homepage for that conference.
There we go.
You can see it.
When I mentioned that Jim wants us to come out to wine country, I kind of thought you might know that I meant wine country.
Apparently, they grow wine in every.
Which isn't in St. Pete Beach. It's further west. Yeah.
Apparently, they make wine in every single state in the union, including Alaska nowadays. Who knew?
Here's Rebecca. Halfway between LA and Los Angeles, you say? No,
yeah, I did.
I think you did say that. What did you mean?
I probably did. LA and San Francisco is probably what I meant to say. Yeah.
Well, halfway between LA and Los Angeles is pretty. It's a very beautiful place, by the way.
That would be West Hollywood, wouldn't it?
Sounds like a country and western song. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm halfway between LA and Los Angeles.
My pickup truck went and died.
Yeah.
So what if you
Yeah.
if you had a different path, or you could start your path over and you were going to go into audiobooks, how would you shortcut it today? Where would you start?
If I had a chance to do the path over,
Yeah,
and
and
the path it's been great. I mean, I can't remember, I'm in so many jobs. I was a corporate VP. I've been a cook. Just everything. I would have, um, pursued the stage. My first professional audition was at the Birdcage Theater in Knott's Berry Farm in 1973. Didn't get the
As
gig.
a male dancer?
as a
Yeah,
bird.
yeah, flamingo dancer. It's a vaudeville theater that's been there at Knott's Berry Farm. Robin Williams worked there. Steve Martin worked there. Just the names of people that work there. Um, that's the one thing I miss. That's the one thing I don't regret much, but not getting formal training as an actor. I think I have pretty good intuition. Been around the entertainment business for 50 plus years. I've got good intuition about what's professional, and I think I'm a pretty good natural storyteller. But what I've learned about acting, the skill of acting, I've had to pick up in the past, 8, 10 years. I wish it would have been nice to have had that background earlier,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it pays off.
But I can't complain about where I am now, because it's where I am.
Yeah. And how many? So, what sort of projects do you work on today? What's your favorite project that you get now?
First person sarcasm.
Are you being
First
sarcastic now?
person, no,
Oh.
first person. Good one, Don. We usually leave that for the other guy.
He's not just a pretty face. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. No, first, if somebody, narrative fiction or first person nonfiction, or even narrative nonfiction, third person. I get confused with third, second, fourth, ninth person, all that shit.
That's how many people are in the room, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah. So, okay. What is the,
It's a
PJ Oakland will say, what is,
100-person point of view. Yeah.
what point of view? Says, I don't know, fucking, I'm looking at the page. That's my point of view. But no,
That's what it is.
I love the first person stuff. I love the sarcasm. I have started doing on these multicast books. I've started playing some interesting characters. I call it the Craig T. Nelson character. I'm the grandpa or the father of the ingenue or something like that. And that's actually kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
The pay is great. I'll go in and do 3 lines and get a 1 hour minimum or
Yeah,
a
plus
2
an
hour
audio
minimum.
award if it works out. Yeah.
And that on top of it. And it doesn't take as much work. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I like the narrative fiction. I'm not a big character voice guy. There's those 2 schools, I guess, of character voices. Mine's kind of on the just enough so that it's a different character talking, that type of thing. It's not so much how you sound, it's how you feel. It's how it's what's going on in the character's mind and their motivation for doing what they do, rather than the characterizing the voice. But
It's telling the story the author wrote.
in an effective way, because sometimes I don't even know that the authors of all the books I've been doing, I don't know that they even have as much insight into the character as I bring to it. When I bring the character to life. Not saying they all don't, but there's been some lately that I think the audio is probably better than the read, than the page.
But would that be because in some ways so they didn't, the writing didn't give you enough of a backstory and a point of view for the character, and you mentally filled it out, and so you had a clearer picture of what that character was? I'm asking, is that?
Yeah. I mean, I become the character, and I haven't done a whole lot of fiction, but I even become the character in nonfiction.
Wait, nonfiction is just reading. That I
No,
know, it's just announcing.
not at all.
I've talked to Johnny too much.
I do I do my fair share of controversial political stuff on both sides of the spectrum.
A lot of
So
people can't do that or won't do that.
I have I have done. I just did a. I did. It's not out yet. I refer to it. I won't give you the title, but it's Joe Biden as a crook book. And during the performance, during the narration, during the read, actually I start believing it. I don't. I have to go wash my mouth out with soap when I'm done on some of them. But I did a bunch of Dershowitz books. The man is brilliant. But he had something go wrong. I don't know exactly what. But my approach to that is I'm really against an anti-censorship on both sides.
Yeah.
Publishing is about the fair exchange of ideas, and it is a marketplace of ideas. And it's up to us that are in the publishing business, and I see myself as being, on the publishing team, to bring those ideas to market. If you don't want to buy it, fine. If you want to listen to it and hate it, that's okay. But it's.
Well, I think you'd be doing a disservice if I can tell you don't like it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Then I think you
Yeah.
know I would say you've done a poor job of representing that author's truth and that author's feel. And
That's absolutely right.
I should think that you're in love. If you were doing a Dershowitz or pick your character or your whatever, I should believe that you are 100% bought into everything he's doing while you're doing that book. And then when you do the next one, that's the opposite. Whoever listens to that and didn't hear the first one should think you're 100% in on.
Yeah.
That's what we call acting.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable or unwilling to play the Dershowitz side, to do the Republican right books, and that's fine, totally fine. Don't do them.
Right.
But don't take a book like that, or a book that espouses opinions or beliefs or feelings that you don't possess, and then try to negate them while you share them.
Right.
That's unfair to the listener and unfair to the author.
Two of my best, highest rated books on Audible, I did on either side of the climate change perspective.
Yeah.
And I did the first one. It was a dreamscape book, and well-known author, well-known proponent of climate change. Not quite to the, oh my God, the sky is falling and we're all going to die next week, but very much into, we need to change our behavior. And I did that, and it was published. It was released about 3 weeks after that. Tom Miss at Hachette emails me and says, "Hey, I've got a book I'd like you to look at." And I looked at the synopsis of the thing, and it was completely the opposite side. And I said, Tom, I don't know if I can do that. Not because I can't, but it's going to be, it's going to look weird because I just did one. He says, that's exactly why I want you to do this book, because you sounded like you really believed what you were talking about.
I did a book for, I can talk about now, Simon & Schuster, called Amateur Hour, and it was a reporter from Breitbart.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say, but Charlie Sterling. Yeah. It was they wanted me to do the book. It's anti-Kamala. This is before Kamala became the Democratic candidate. She was still just vice president. Called Amateur Hour. So you can guess what it's about. Yeah. And I sent a note to the publishers. I said, "Look, I'm known personality-wise as a left-wing pinko commie who believes in freedom and democracy and all those other commie principles. So I said, do you really want me to do this book? Because people know." And they talked to the author, and he said, "Yeah, I really want that guy." So I did it, and I think I did it justice. And it was if you just take everything he said, because there's no discussion of the other side. This is it's just me for 8, 9, 10 hours laying down. Here's a series of facts. Here's what I believe they mean about her abilities, etc.
Facts.
So you're just doing this. It's not a debate. It's not a discussion. It's just his point of view. And from that point alone, They're not necessarily poorly written or wrong. It's just we're not getting both sides of the coin. But if you're going to commit, but I let them know who I was. If you're going to commit to doing the job, do the job. If Jim gets hired to play Hitler and does a great job, it doesn't make him a Nazi, makes him a good actor.
Right.
And I think
well, that's the two things. One of the first Dershowitz books I did, I remember talking to you, Johnny, and I said, hey, should I do this book? And you said there's no shame in doing a good job, on a book. And it was like, yeah, okay.
Well,
the other thing,
that now too. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing
he resends that now.
Just makes me chuckle. The Joe Biden is a Crook book was due to release this week. It was going to be the October surprise that was going to knock him off.
Now it just now your bank account is just heavier, and
I'm halfway through reading this thing, and he steps aside. I email the producer, and I said that are we still going with this book? Well, obviously, yeah. But it's not going to be released until sometime in January.
Yeah.
And they're gonna retitle it, and they might bring me back and do some edits. But that made me chuckle the whole way through, just knowing that I'm getting paid for this thing that's a moot point at this juncture. So
yeah.
And then the other, the example that I give my friends, they say, how can you do a book like that? I did a book very critical of critical race theory. And, it was kind of a Moms for Liberty type book. And a friend of mine who's very involved in diversity, training, DEI here in the area says, how could you do that book? And the example that I give is the Spike Lee movie about the Ku Klux Klan in Colorado Springs. There were some actors in that film that delivered some despicable lines and said despicable words, but never, while I'm watching that movie, did I think, Adam Driver is a racist, or so-and-so is a racist. They're actors.
I just did a book, The Education of T.J. Crowley from May Woolrich, and it's a wonderful book, and and I play a despicable KKK guy who throws he's a racist, redneck, awful human being. He throws the N-word around and
typecast him.
Yeah, it's it's not so. You throw the word, but you do it. But you have to play it. If you're going to accept the role, play it.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And it's not. It's again. I mean, if something makes you horribly, I don't want to do it, then don't do it. But if you say yes, then do it.
I did a stage play here this last year where I played a Southern minister whose organization kidnapped a young lady who was going into an abortion clinic and kept her in a basement until she came to term.
Was it a musical?
Yeah, a comedy. It's called Keely and Do. It's an impactful play. The first night, the local theater has a talkback, where the actors come out on stage after the curtain falls. And I was booed by some of the people in the audience.
That's what you want.
And that's good.
I did. And I looked at them. I said, thank you very much. I really appreciated that. And then the actress, the female lead, said, wait a minute, he isn't that guy. I mean, she had to, protected me, or, stood up for me. She said, he isn't that guy. But that was highlight of that show, is that I got booed for being a bad guy.
Hey, I would like to add something right in the show with 10 minutes to go here, because I don't want to wait to the end. And forgive me for taking a little time here, but we all know about Hurricane Helene, which ripped through and really had an impact, a horrible impact on so many of our dear friends in the community, particularly those from the lovely town of Asheville, North Carolina, where my dear friend Lisa Ware lives, and Nicole and Krista Lewis and John Perala, and just so many there. And they're suffering. Not every. Dan Friedman, if you know him. These people are all suffering. Their homes are basically wiped out. Those who had studios in their basement that's flooded out. They've lost a lot. They can't get. Some don't have power yet. I mean, God bless. There's food coming in now and stuff, but it's awful. It's an awful situation. So Romy Nordlinger, who's a brilliant actor, and
Yeah.
one woman, and she's going to be on our show. As a matter of fact, let me just tell everybody about that. She'll be on our show November 19th.
Excellent.
She's been pushing a GoFundMe, which I think Don's put up here. If you know, any dollar amount, I know that all the politicians are asking for your money. Anything you can do to help these guys, here's the GoFundMe. Don put just up there. You click on that, throw some money in. You can do it anonymously, or you can claim to be Jim Seybert, whatever you want to be. But send these guys some money if you have any, because they're going through hell right now. It's just awful. And I don't know if we are the community we say we are, caring and we're not. I know we're not always, because I've been through some horrible things from this allegedly gracious community. But if you are that, please help. This is a time to help. This is a time to reach out. These folks need your help. Don't look for thank yous. Don't look for anything. Just help them through this horrible period. When we're done with the show, I'll be throwing some money their way, and if you can, that'd be great. So there it is. Make
Yeah.
a note of it. Don, do these things stay up? They find
Oh
these
yeah,
later
yeah.
when they
This
go
will
to.
be in the final one, and I can throw that in the notes for the YouTube thing. But you
Okay, yeah. So if you
imagine
can,
imagine if you had your studio and you built it in a basement, which would be many people do, a closet in their basement, and then the darn thing gets flooded, so you lose all your equipment, you lose all your space, you now don't have a place to live. I mean, it's just there are people who, through no fault of their own, happen to be in the wrong place during a natural disaster. And so yeah, if you have the means to help someone, this is the perfect time to do it, and a good place to do it.
although I've often wondered about those folks, not these guys, just in a general sense, who there's certain areas that are flood
Oh
zones.
yeah,
They
right,
call them that,
right.
and you still buy stuff there. I think after a while you got to say,
Yeah,
"Yeah, dude, I'm not
well,
helping you."
I
It
agree.
said
And
flood zone right there on the map,
yeah,
but I don't think that's true in Asheville.
well, and
What's interesting, what tragic about this is that a lot of those people are up on mountains
right,
Yeah,
that's the thing.
where
and
This
yet,
it
the
isn't a flood. This hurricane,
oh,
300 miles from the coast.
right.
Lisa Ware, who is one of my dear friends, she lives in like this country wood. I mean, she has bears and stuff visiting her, and she's in the woods, and her place is just she's going through hell, and it's just, my God, my heart goes out. There for the great people. It's just so. I don't know how when you get everything wiped out, even if you have insurance, nothing's replaceable.
Right.
The memories, the feelings, the hopes. But if our community can get together and help out and reach out, I think that's what we should be about.
Yep, and
That,
it can happen to anybody. So if it wasn't this, you could have a hurricane on the East Coast. You have it now
yeah,
at more central. Earthquake can happen out here, or a fire can come in northern central California after, people have lived there for 3 to 5 decades without ever having an issue, and then one weekend a fire
Yeah,
in the wrong place, which just means we're all vulnerable to it at some point,
yeah,
getting 100% wiped out temporarily, and people need help. So
yeah.
if you have the means, it's the time to do
So
it. Jump in.
I just wanted to get that out there while there are
good,
more folks still. I don't know
Yeah.
when the crowd leaves us, but I want to make sure we get that out there. So Jim, I apologize for taking away
oh
time from chatting about your stupid books and shit you're doing. I am just saying.
yeah. Now let's get back to the good stuff.
Now
Let's get back to Jim's life. So Jim, what's for lunch?
Yeah, on the political thing, my wife Lisa does all sorts of political ads, and during political seasons every 4 years. And well, the first time it came up, we're like, do we do this one? It's like exactly opposite us, and we came to this one conclusion that, you know what, if we're going to do it, I don't want anybody to know that we're not on that side. If we take that ad and we're doing it, everybody should believe that's what we believe, 100%, absolutely. Second, if we really thought it was terrible, we could take some of that money and donate it to our
Yep.
side for the other, and say, okay, because they were going to pay somebody to do it. And if we really didn't believe in what they were doing, then we can put our money where our mouth is and both do
Yeah.
it and then take that and contribute. So you can do
Donate
those
under the name
movies.
J.D. Vance to
Yeah. so so it does, but the thing that all three of us agree, and I'll bet 90% of the audience agrees as well, that it does make sense. Lisa will not do super sexual books. She just says, no, that's not me. And that's her
Yeah.
choice,
Well,
our choice, that we don't take certain things uh, in the audiobook world or the narration world or the commercial world. We just don't take certain things, and that's fine. But once we take them, we do not want anyone to know that that wasn't exactly, the truth is what we accepted. Now we're actors, and even if we don't agree with it, so what? No one should ever know that. And I do think
yeah.
that's what the pros are doing. Can you imagine being an actor and taking the role of a Hitler or taking the role of a predator in one way or another? Yeah, once you take that role, then yeah, you better go for it.
Well, yeah.
So enough of that.
Yeah.
There's the dark side of life.
That's
But
right.
There we are.
but you know what? Here's the funny thing. It does stretch you as an actor, though. It stretches you as a performer.
Oh,
You
yeah.
really do want to say when you come out the other side, is that a believable performance? And if not, then I need some more coaching because
And nothing's more fun than playing the bad guy anyway.
well,
Really.
yeah, you
Yeah,
do
really.
see that
I mean,
actors tend to gravitate to that. Part of it is they get to play something that's not them, that's totally outside of something that they would ever do in their life for real. And I think it gives them a chance to be a little freer with stuff that
That's the thing, getting inside this guy's head. I can't remember what the character's name was. Walter? Can't remember. Yeah, where I was
I think it was
the
Jim.
yeah, it's Jim. But getting inside his head, because the thing is, he was doing some despicable, terrible things, but he believed in the very down in his bosom.
Yeah.
Ooh, bosom. Can we say bosom? That
No.
he was
We did.
right. He wasn't thinking, oh my goodness, he wasn't thinking, I'm going to do this terrible thing. He says, I'm going to save this girl and this baby from this action. So I had to approach it like that. And I noticed here, Lisa had made a comment about an actor that was in a play that your kids were in at one time that apologized, and we did that before every performance. We looked at each other in the eye, backstage, and said, I'm not who I am playing. This is a role. Are you okay with that? And
Yeah.
it was great. I love working with other actors. That's why I like the multicast thing. Our job is so lonely. I mean, it's just day after day after day of performing with imagining somebody listening to you.
Listening to Bobby Vinton records while you go in. Yeah, it's sad.
Is that
I do think comedy. So
why do I even fucking try to be serious, Heller?
I have
Jesus.
no idea. You knew who I was when you walked in. I don't know.
I do think that's why people who can pull off a comedy when they have no audience, that is a really tough gig because they have no comedians are used to having direct feedback and working off of that energy.
Yeah.
And so people that can do some of these comedic things really well with no audience, that's a tough gig.
Well,
And
I just did a bio of Johnny Carson. I can't tell you much more about it, but we'll see how
Oh,
that.
wow.
That's
Sweet.
cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Well,
some funny,
we are
funny
coming to the
stuff.
end here. So, Jim, anything that I know you're a big promotion guy and you have a new series coming up. Would you like to tell us about? No, wait. Do you have anything that you want to promote?
Wait a minute. Did I just have one of those senior moments? Is there something coming I don't know about? What? No, I just I appreciate both of you guys and the help you've done, John, on the performance side and Don on the the technical, the post engineering side. You've been very helpful to so many people in the industry. And yeah, I'll put a shout out and reiterate the GoFundMe thing for the people in the Carolinas, and then also put a shout out and thumbs up for the union. Big union guy here. So if you have an opportunity to join the union, I think you should. They do some great stuff for you. And if you are eligible to join the union and you haven't, why the hell not? They're helping you. They're helping you out. So
Cool. Johnny.
A few quick New England Narrator Retreat. It's sold out, so look for next year. We are looking at a couple things. March, a Splendiferous workshop here in New York, because I think the audios are coming back here. So I think it's March
Yep.
4th. I'll double check that. In
think
May,
you're right.
we're looking to do, Joanna and I are looking to put on a, like we did in New Orleans this year, which was fantastic. Looking to go to Santa Fe for a workcation. So it's like a week, something like that. And you work during the day, see things. Then we spend late afternoon and evening just wandering about, seeing sights. It was a fantastic New Orleans experience, and we hope it'll be fun again. It's a way to combine work and vacation, and you can bring your family. So that will be swell. We're hoping to work that out. As Don mentioned early, I worked with Don and Donnie on some audiobook videos. There it is. You got to send me that link, as a matter of fact. Because if you buy this, by the way, I want you to know that you will be helping to fund my campaign to eat more dinners, and Don's as well. So you should get involved in that.
I have a
Yeah.
wedding coming up. One of my
Yeah,
kids is
do
getting married
it.
in 2 weeks. So that's
Ooh.
not that I have any outgoing things. I'm just saying that. Anyway, no, we have. In fact, I'm at one of my youngest daughter's wedding the day before I head out to the the retreat here in a couple of weeks. So I'm gonna take a red eye directly from a wedding of one of my children, right out to the event for a week. So anyway, it'll be a
And
fun.
then, next week we have Rebecca Lee, who is in the audience today. I've never spoken to her at length about anything, so this should be interesting. Again, I put a note up in the Johnny Heller Workshop alumni group, and being involved in this show, it means you can probably ask to be a member of that group. Stay in touch. We have some openings in December for guests, and then of course all of 2025 we plan on continuing the show. If you guys like this show, please say so in the comments. Comments mean so much to us. It really helps expand our
And Lisa, so my wife asked a question about, do you do impressions of George Carlin thing for the Carson book? I'm gonna make Johnny. You can save that, Lisa, and ask that again in a week or 3 after he has the ability to talk about it in detail. And if he can say something
yeah,
next
but
week,
I'm not. I didn't do. I'll tell you about. Lisa, remember to ask that question like that, because it's important to know when to do somebody's voice and not.
okay, that'll be a
And
fascinating. Yes, so Lisa, you can
yeah.
ask that next week, and we'll just that's a fascinating topic to make a decision about when you do an impression of somebody who's famous or when you
It's
decide not to do that, and that's an art and a decision, an artistic decision. So
doll faces will talk. We'll talk.
all right, we appreciate you attending, and as always, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. You have a great day. See you later.
Jim, thanks.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Mr. Seybert.
Good night.